welcome to our solar electric trailer journey. Today we are here in Charleston, South Carolina, and we just visited Fort Sumter, where the first shots of the Civil War were fired.
Yeah, it was a great visit. We really enjoyed it. It's just such incredible history out there. To get there, you have to take a ferry. The ferry's right behind us. We just got off the ferry. Charleston is a really scenic community, but we're excited by the history, the historical significance, and the Fort Sumter is now a national monument, and so it's operated by the National Park Service, and they do a magnificent job of capturing the history, the significance in a respectful and thoughtful way, but that I think recognizes the history correctly, and so we really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. Learned a lot. Here we are in front of the St. Phillips Anglican Church here in Charleston, South Carolina. The congregation was first established in 1680.
Yeah, this is an amazing church. This particular iteration of the church was built in 1838, and this is an important historic site. The tower of the church is quite tall, and so it was actually used for a long time as a lighthouse, as well as a church. So very, very important site here in Charleston.
Here we are in front of the French Huguenot Church in Savannah, and it was built in 1845, and services today are held in French.
Yeah, this is really the heart of the French Quarter here in Charleston, so it's an important stop in the little historic district that includes the French Quarter.
Here we are in front of the Dock Street Theater in Charleston. It was built in 1736, and it was built solely for the purpose of theatrical performances. And the first opera in the United States was performed here.
Yeah, that was Flora. And, this is a convenient stop if you visit the French Huguenot Church, because that's across the street. So it's worth just taking a moment to pop in here.
You can see the Pink House behind us, and it is actually called the Pink House. That's what it's known as. And it was built in 1712. Historians believe that it is the second oldest structure in Charleston.
Yeah, and it's been used for all kinds of things. It was a brothel for a while, a tavern, a law office, and it was a gallery of some sort recently, and now it's a private home. It's had a long history, nearly over 400 years. So well worth stopping by this to see it.
Here we are at the Old Slave Mart Museum in Charleston.
And this is where it was an actual slave mart where enslaved people were bought and sold like cattle, and they were treated in much the same way. They were cleaned up, fattened up, even given exercises to strengthen their muscles so they would look better, so they could be sold. Just really tragic. But the museum is brilliant in its rendering of the facts of that era, that period, and its impact on Charleston. And the mart exists because the slave trade had, for centuries, taken place on the streets, and even in the South, people considered that unseemly. And so a law was passed in Charleston requiring that that conduct be done inside, and so this mart was built. The wrong remedy, it seems, to the problem. So anyway, very interesting museum, well worth a visit.
Worth a visit, yep. We just returned from Charleston, and we had a wonderful trip. And we're going to share a few thoughts as we revisit that trip. We went to see Fort Sumter, and it was amazing. The history there is absolutely incredible. I learned a lot when we went.
Yeah, the Fort Sumter really plays a pivotal role, at least as a marker, right, of the history of the Civil War. And so its significance is hard to overstate. And it was wonderful to visit. The National Park Service does, I think, just a magnificent job with the storytelling done there. Some of the things that we didn't appreciate before we got there and learned things like the island is artificial.
Yeah.
And so it was made by enslaved people, one rock thrown into the ocean at a time until they had built an island. And then the fort itself was built also by enslaved individuals with their fingerprints still visible in some of the bricks there. It's really a profound thing to think about the implications of this historic fort.
And because it's on an island, you actually have to take a ferry out, a 30-minute ferry ride, which is really kind of fun. We enjoyed that quite a bit.
Yeah, it really is a delightful excursion to go see Fort Sumter, as well as being historically significant.
The city of Charleston is full of old buildings. There's a house called the Pink House, and it actually is pink to this day, and it was built in 1712.
Yeah, and we showed you that, and it's really kind of a cool thing. And a lot of the buildings were built in the 1700s and 1800s, and so as you wander around the city, you can recognize oftentimes, and when we were there, you could see some of the homes that were and buildings under renovation, and you appreciate how carefully the city and its community are taking care of those historical treasures.
We want to hear from you. Share some of your experiences of your visits to Charleston.
Yeah, tell us what you think we missed.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us today. Bye.
When we heard our Rivian wouldn't be delivered until Christmas of 2023, we decided to see what we could tow with our Chevy Bolt.
Launching our solar electric trailer journey.
We have a lot to learn, and we're sharing what we discover along the way.
We've added solar panels to our A-Liner Scout pop-up trailer,
preparing us for doing the same on a bigger trailer when the Rivian arrives.
Join us by subscribing now.